Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. I wanted to touch on this really quick as we started. This is a scoop from Eleanor Terrett. It says Gary Gensler apparently has multiple SEC email accounts that he uses. Why would he need to do this? I've reached out to the SEC for comment. So this is going to tie into a lot of what we're talking about within this video. So we're going to come back to this. We're going to come over here to the whale chart. It says breaking U.S. bankruptcy judge approves Binance U.S. 1.3 billion deal for Voyager. Congratulations, CZ Binance. So obviously the SEC tried to intervene and block Binance from acquiring Voyager, which was tragic, but the judge slapped him, pretty much slapped him in the face and said, why? So coming over here, there's a quote right here that Eleanor Terrett had put up. It says, Voyager and Binance judge taking SEC to task. Quote, are you seriously telling me that you haven't provided any clarity and want me to deny this plan because it might be something that you think is something? So obviously, more shade being put on the SEC, more as you could say, attacks from multiple angles are happening. And Brad Garlinghouse hits it on the head right here where he says, it's only Tuesday, but shaping up to be a not so great week for the SEC. This ruling, he's meaning the Ripple versus SEC ruling that came out, the Voyager, and now Grayscale. So, man, it's just a waiting game to kind of see how things unravel and unfold within all these litigations and the SEC's overregulation by enforcement. This is from John Deaton. This is a thread on the Voyager stuff, and I wanted to cover this. It says Voyager is another example of the federal judge deciding the SEC's arguments aren't 100 without merit. Recent examples: one, the Ripple case, a federal judge in a writing rule literally stated SEC lawyers were being hypocrites and that they lacked faithful allegiance to the law. He continues down here, says, in Ripple, the judge said SEC lawyers are more interested in advancing their own agenda than adhering to the law. Think about how significant that is. How do SEC lawyers enforce the law if they don't themselves honor the law? As a former federal prosecutor, I'd be ashamed. Two, library case. Soon I'll be able to publish on Crypto Law US the transcript of the last two hearings in the library case. When you read them, you will see how the judge pleaded with the SEC to provide clarity for the users of the platform in the secondary market. The SEC basically told the judge it does not do that. It does not provide clarity. That's why I and #ICANN filed amicus briefs to, at a minimum, make sure the judge's order doesn't apply to secondary market transactions. You'll see just how frustrated the judge got with the SEC. 3. Voyager bankruptcy. The SEC objected to Binance's purchase for the sole purpose of punishing its anti-crypto agenda, or pushing its anti-crypto agenda. And then he puts this VGX Heroes tweet right here, and he says, make sure you come down here and read this. 4. Grayscale versus SEC hearing. Months ago, before the hearing, I predicted Grayscale would win because the denial of the spot Bitcoin ETF while allowing futures and short ETFs was arbitrary and capricious under the law. The judges were troubled by the SEC's arguments. One judge said the SEC attorney, quote, you say that you must provide you with more data, but you don't identify what type of additional data they need to provide, or words to that effect. Another judge stated the SEC objects, but offers no argument whatsoever that Grayscale's position and analysis is wrong or flawed. The judge said based on the SEC's own argument, it should not have approved a futures ETF because the same analysis applied to a spot ETF. Yeah, when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, how can you approve that? Especially the short one, right? But you can't approve a spot Bitcoin ETF. Clearly, they're pushing their own agenda there. John Deaton continues to says the 4 examples above demonstrate that just because a regulator like Gary Gensler says something doesn't make it so. When Clayton was chairman, the SEC declared Bitcoin and ETH non-securities. Him in speech stating ETH isn't a security is still on the SEC's website, which this kind of looks bad because Chairman Gensler literally came out not too long ago talking about how everything besides Bitcoin is a security. But they have this on their website. It's kind of tragic. Continuing down here, says him in speech was 2018. In 2019, Clayton sent a letter to Senator Ted agreeing with him in speech. But 3.5 years later, Gensler says only Bitcoin is a non-security. Mind blown with the shameful emoji there. It says, how are financial markets supposed to function in such a schizophrenic regulatory environment? The point is that the courts are the check on the SEC. The SEC admitted in its reply to writ of mandamus that The SEC does not decide if something is a security. The courts does. The SEC stated, quote, the court will testify the validity of the SEC's claims. The more judges that scrutinize the SEC's behavior and conduct, the more success we'll have. Until Congress acts, which is 2 to 4 years away, the battle is in court. The good news is that Gensler won't be chairman forever. Just hearing this alone is just tragic. So, I mean, hopefully things go according to, plan in regards of the success of these blockchain companies like Ripple and, these digital assets and, the people representing them. Hopefully, all these battles that are currently happening with the SEC or against the SEC, hopefully we have some success, because it's truly going to set precedent, going forward until we actually get some true, regulations and clarity within the space. And John Deaton saying late 2025. So it's just going to be a waiting game to kind of see what happens with that. Moving on here. Digital asset investor is putting this up. He says, 1, government hates crypto and wants to shut it down. 2, government plans with FTX. 3, FTX is exposed as a fraud. 4, the fraud is used to indict the entire crypto industry, even parts of it that haven't been accused for fraud, like Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, and Chris Larson. Almost like a plan. Which on this channel, if you've been following this channel, we've been talking about that for some time. We're going to scoot this back. Yeah, we've been talking about that for some time, man. There really are no coincidences. And as we start to piece together more and more, conflicts of interest, audio clips, videos, documents, I mean, you literally see this web is all connecting. It is just tragic that, the people that are supposed to be out there representing us are the ones going against us. And they're stifling and hindering the innovation within, the blockchain and crypto technology in itself, especially in the US. And it's tragic. We're going to move on here. This is from John Deaton. He says, 1 year ago, on Charles Payne's show, I said Gary Gensler goal is to crush crypto to allow incumbents to get a larger slice of the crypto pie, for example, custody and exchanges. And once that is accomplished, then loosen up the reins. Charles said they've been doing the same plays for years. So let's let me move this in. So let's take a quick listen into the Paul Barron Network video here.
He hits on a couple of things here that I think is important. One is the fact that he's mentioning crypto. Might be the first time I've heard Powell actually start to bring that up. Now, he also mentioned they don't want to stifle innovation. I think that is a very key point. Granted, I think it is a little bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of scenario, because at the end of the piece that we played for you guys, what he really is at is that they're controlling the bank's activity, and they want banks to be able to securely be able to model into against this, which will be a scenario for regulators to come in and play the trump card, in the sense of being able to line the streets with a potential opportunity. This gets back to my whole theory, is that the fix is in, and that traditional finance is the onboard route for this to occur. And it's just a matter of them, meaning traditional lawmakers, being able to gut the system and be able to get all of the bad players out, quote, bad players. This will move out some of the innovators as well, and then rebuild, kind of like burn it down first and then rebuild it. That's where I think this is going, and I think the inflationary scenario plays into this, but at the same time, this is a global market. You've heard me say this many times. Further into this interview, he goes on to add some additional things around the debt ceiling. Listen to what he had to say here.
It really matters between the executive branch and Congress. We do not seek to play a role in these policy issues. But at the end of the day, there's only one solution to this problem, and that is Congress. Whatever else may happen will happen, but Congress really needs to raise the debt ceiling. That's the only way out, in a timely way that allows us to pay all of our bills when and as due. And if we fail to do so, I think that the consequences are hard to estimate, but they could be extraordinarily adverse, and could do longstanding harm.
Well, I think that's a
pretty straightforward, guys. This means we're going to have more money into the system, inject it in the system. Remember, this is how and what the problem has existed on. When you go from 900 million or billion to over almost 5 trillion in a period of essentially 15 years, that is the kind of scenario we're faced in terms of this debt ceiling. There is no way out of this, I don't believe, based on the analysis. Many of the analysts I've talked to, we've done deep dive research on this with a ton of people from all walks of industries, including in different places around the world, looking at the condition here in the U.S. And I think that is the point that Powell is making, is that there's really no way out. He hits up.
Yeah. all that stuff is nuts, man, to kind of see how everything's, the printing and, their strategy to get a hold and control of inflation and just their tactics about going about it. It's way over my head. And some of it really just doesn't make sense, while they're trying to justify their actions. But anyways, the effects on crypto, I think it goes back to what digital asset investor and John Deaton talk about in regards of the incumbents, right? It's everything seems to fit this agenda and this narrative that they're trying to push, from creating all this chaos within the industry, utilizing that bad and negative press to further suppress the crypto space and to, get their rules and just their scrutiny across, right? Just try to get a stranglehold of the entire crypto market. Obviously, all that's going to affect what's happening within this market. So then once they suppress the price so much, they get it down, they get people to, FUD out, fear out, and sell, at bottoms. And then that's when the incumbents come in, they continue to accumulate, like they have been doing for years. It's no secret. They get the bigger piece of the pie, and it's the same cycle all over again. The powers that be control everything. They have the bigger piece of the pie. They have their politicians and their government officials in place, in these government positions, and it's the same cycle all over again. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how things unfold. And that's just my opinion. I wanted to, right here, Jerome Powell, this is from Roger Guru, says, just in Fed Chair Jerome Powell says, quote, we'll have real-time payments in this country very, very soon. What is he hinting at right there? We talking about and we talking about XRP, talking about the XRPL, like what is he hinting at here? What's going to be utilized to get these real-time payments? I don't know. Exciting days ahead for sure. Oh, I lost my place here. All right, so coming over here, obviously we covered the Eleanor Terry tweet here in regards of these. Apparently, Chairman Gensler has multiple SEC email accounts that he uses. So remember, we've covered this a long time ago in regards of just, Chairman Gensler, he demands transparency, right? And you have to come into compliance. But when it comes to him and his over $100 million fortune, him constantly meeting with Vanguard, who's handling his fortune on taxpayer dollar and time, he's not compliant with that when he's supposed to be registered and compliant with that within, I forgot what, I think Rhode Island, I can't remember what location he's at, but he's not even compliant himself, right? And that's not even to go to say, when they had the conversation in that big, Twitter speculation wave that was happening in regards of, government officials utilizing certain apps so their conversations aren't traceable. Like, it goes into all that stuff. And this is we're not idiots. Like, we know that this happens. But Eleanor Terrett says, multiple SEC email accounts that he's using. So there's been some conversation happening. WeezyX says, quote, if things are done in secret, it is often because there are things to hide. Just like when he used to carry 2 phones at the CFTC. And he says, hashtag fire Gary Gensler. This is supposed to be a government official who is on taxpayers' dollars, supposed to be working for the people, but he's utilizing these tactics and strategies to push his own agenda. Or you could say his master's agenda. Tony Edwards says, seems on par with the corrupt regulator like Gary Gensler. He has a lot to hide and lots of shady dealings going on. Which, that's not a secret to us. It's just shameful. Crypto Law puts this up, and this is John Deaton's platform here. It says, why is Gary Gensler still allowed to run the SEC? His record in public service is one of the incompetent self-promotion and putting his own personal interest ahead of the public interest. Continues down here. As CFTC chairman, he left the MF Global scandal explode on his watch. An investigation found he recused himself as an act of self-preservation, putting the public interest second. And then he puts a link here. You can kind of come in here and click in and read it. He says, 3 or 4 says, at the SEC, his relentless pursuit of headline grabbing and self-promoting cases has ground down the professional staff and caused an unprecedented mass exodus, which we've been covering on this channel. And then this last one here says, now he reportedly has multiple email addresses at the SEC. What kind of paranoid image control behavior is this from the so-called cop on the beat? Hashtag Gary Gensler resign. This is our reality, and it's tragic. So, okay, if you've been following, all of this stuff that's we've been posting and retweeting and making content on within the XRP community, you notice that Chairman Gensler has these are kind of cool edited videos. He talks about, we had this win against Dragon Chain and we did this against Library Case. We were very successful, right? He has all these videos. He had recently put out one that covered some information that was literally released. Like, it's almost like he had the video already prepared, and then this information was released. I totally forgot, and if I ended up remembering to find it, I'll put it on the next video. But long story short, Digital Asset Investor has a good point here. So he goes, I bet Dime Sedonis that Gary has already produced 2 or 3 versions of one of these fake taxpayer funded videos for an outcome in the SEC versus Ripple case to spin it like a win for him. I mean, just look at this guy. Like, he probably does. I mean, it's been evident. He's been called out for, how does he already have this elaborate video already made when this was just released? Like, how is this a thing? Like, it's almost like they all know what's happening before it happens. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some, great, elaborate, and all-inclusive video that it'll be like a highlight reel for him. This highlight reel for him that's already produced when, this lawsuit stuff already drops. And it's going to be spun like a win for him. That's the only way that this thing happens. I mean, unless, John Deaton and them, say, hey, this is going further, or this is how it's going to happen. For my speculation, in my opinion, and based on the evidence that's been presented, he's going to do everything in his power to ensure that, hey, this looks good for us, this looks good for me, and this is a win for the SEC, regardless of if Ripple and XRP get clarity. They're let through the door like they let Bitcoin and Ethereum through the door. Whatever the case is, they're going to make it spin into their narrative and fit their narrative, which is tragic. But we all know the truth. This is from Digital Asset Investor says, what if Ripple won the lawsuit? XRP was going to be used on X.com, formerly Twitter, and XRP was going to be used as the phygital goods in the Amazon NFT digital marketplace with the eyes. So much potential, so many possibilities, man. It's just a waiting game. I mean, this could take years, decades, who knows? But, the groundwork's already being laid, the foundation's down, and the partnerships are being built. So it's just a waiting game. We covered that one. Digital Asset Investor had put this up too. He goes, we can talk about you being, so remember we covered Brian Armstrong. Like, for some reason, he has this newfound fight in him. We called him out for not, standing ground and standing next to Ripple and the XRP community, fighting the good fight against the SEC, right? And then they tried to throw out their own Lend product that was shut down by Chairman Gensler from the SEC, and he cowered, put his tail between his legs and kind of cowered away, right? Didn't fight. Now all of a sudden you have Brian Armstrong having this, oh, we need to change this or that, right? So he goes, Brian Armstrong says, as crypto holders, we need to elect representatives who will fight for our interests and help ensure this technology can benefit humanity. Crypto owners can be a powerful constituent, but only if we get organized. So Digital Asset Investor says, we can talk about you being Braveheart for the crypto industry after you relist XRP and give us our songbird and flare. Until then, sit down, put .eth back in your name. Pretty much saying, shut the heck up. And until you do these things, just go ahead and sit down, put your tail between your legs, and do what you do. Now, in my opinion, I truly believe it's never too late. You want to join the fight and do the right thing and fight the good fight. Heck yeah, man. Do we wish you would have been there earlier? Yeah, but it is what it is at this point. But I definitely feel what DAI is talking about right here. Let me hurry up, this video's too long. This is from Tim. He had tweeted this video from the Crypto Base, or this article. It says, Ripple lawyer says they grow more confident with each ruling in the SEC case. Shout out, Stuart Alderati and the team behind Ripple, man. Seriously, John Deaton, all the strong work. Right here, so we put up this video yesterday of Charles Gasparino on the Claimant Countdown show with John Deaton, and just hearing Charles, and I like Charles, but hearing Charles talk, it's like he says things almost to ignite fire, right, within the community. But it's like he's trying hard not to see what's right in front of him, type thing, right? So Markets Mickle says, after interviewing John 8+ times, Charles Gasparino still doesn't have the slightest idea what's going on, because he asked off the rip. Charles Gasparino asked John Deaton, so you represent Ripple and Ripple shareholders, right? And he was like, no, I'm representing over 75,000 plus XRP holders. It's just crazy, man. Anyways, Charles Gasparino did some great work, being that platform that allowed us to get to the mainstream media. So shout out him for that. We're currently sitting at a $1.03 trillion market cap. we had some upside, but we're having a little bit more downward pressure right now. But we're gonna have an update here in 6 minutes on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. We're currently sitting at a 50 at a neutral. So it's just a waiting game to kind of see what happens. I say that every day because that's kind of what it is. You know, all we could do is continue to spread awareness, make content, share, retweet, be positive, and invest properly for you and your own investment strategies for you and your family, and try to stay positive as we can, knowing that, hey, a lot of the control is out of our hands, so we can only do what we can do. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key 1. I really appreciate your support out there. With all that being said, stay strong out there and be safe.